Who are you? Who are you?
What are you doing here?
I'm Condor. Sit down. What do you do for a living?
Don't be ridiculous.
What do you do? Exactly.
Deputy Director of Operations.
What section?
Middle East.
What are you working on? What are you doing? What's the secret worth murdering everybody at the ALHS house?
There's no secret.
Wick showed you my report.
What report?
Yes. It was your network I turned up. Doing what? Doing what? What does operations care about a bunch of goddamn books? A book in Dutch. A book out of Venezuela. Mystery stories in Arabic.
Wait.
What the hell is so important about... Oil fields. Oil. That's it, isn't it? This whole damn thing's about oil. Wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Good evening, one and all. This is Public Radio, KCBX, and it's time for the show all about movies, Take Two. Thank you for being there. And across the aisle from me in the projection room is film scholar and one-time double agent of the British Secret Service, Sir Robert Whiteford.
Not to be confused with Kim Philby or any of the other great real spies out there. Guy Burgess might be one of my personal favorites. And sitting across the aisle here in our soundproof, underground, spy-proof bunker is control of film, the M in movies, Mr. Jim Dee.
I already checked the bottom of the table here, so make sure there's no listening devices. Actually, the listening is out there. We're not very private about this.
I have my L for lethal pill under my tongue as we go.
Well, for those of you who didn't tune in last week, this is the second in a two-part series on spy movies, and that was instigated by the huge popularity of the Austin Powers movie last week. Last week we spent time with some more fun secret agents, including Austin Powers, James Bond, Matt Helm, and
Derek Flint,
and how it's an enduring genre of film. I mean, again, the current Austin Powers film is a takeoff on a film that was released in 1964, I believe. So a pretty hardy, long-lasting, and durable film genre. However, on tonight's program, the more serious side, the more dark side of the spy movie.
Tonight we'll be exploring some different types of spy films. These are the serious ones. One of our callers last week talked about, was it Smiley's People or Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the John Le Carre miniseries from the BBC, and this is more the vein we're going at. Such films as The Spy That Came In From the Cold with Richard Burton, which is based on a John Le Carre novel. Also, the segment we just played earlier from 1975's excellent 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford, Cliff Robertson, Max von Sydow, and Faye Dunaway. This is the flip side of the spy film. Think like a few years after the Bond phenomenon, when suddenly things aren't so mod and so groovy. Things are starting to become revealed about covert operations. The Pentagon Papers. James Agee goes public with CIA operations. And we have a new knowledge of what really a dirty business this is, and we have movies reflecting that.
And Bob, what always fascinates me is we get a topic here and we start doing the research and going back, and again, as you heard, it was Robert Redford in the opening sequence of tonight's program talking to a CEO of a company who is in cahoots with the government with plans to invade the Middle East, a film made in 1975. Now, where do they come up with this preposterous stuff?
I don't know. It's an utterly outrageous proposition.
Let's listen to something else from 3 Days of the Condor, actually a very timely film. Here is Robert Redford talking with Cliff Robertson about covert operations and the possibility of an invasion in the Middle East.
Do we have plans to invade the Middle East?
Are you crazy?
Am I?
Look, Turner.
Do we have plans?
No, absolutely not. We have games. That's all. We play games. What if? How many men? What would it take? Is there a cheaper way to destabilize a regime? That's what we're paid to do.
Walk on. Go on. So Atwood just took the games too seriously. He was really going to do it, wasn't he?
It's a renegade operation. Atwood knew 5412 would never authorize it. There was no way, not with the heat on the company.
Well, what if there hadn't been any heat? Supposing I hadn't stumbled on a plan. Say nobody had.
Different ball game. Fact is, there was nothing wrong with the plan. Oh, the plan was all right. The plan would have worked.
Boy, what is it with you people? You think not getting caught in a lie is the same thing as telling the truth?
No. It's simple economics. Today it's oil, right? In 10 or 15 years, food, plutonium, and maybe even sooner. Now, what do you think the people are going to want us to do then?
Ask them.
Not now. Then. Ask them when they're running out. Ask them when there's no heat in their homes and they're cold. Ask them when their engines stop. Ask them when people who've never known hunger start going hungry. You want to know something? They won't want us to ask them. They'll just want us to get it for them.
Wow.
Amazing.
Amazing. From a film from 1975.
Boy, go figure. I mean, that's way, way ahead of its time. It's so topical. I mean, it's like this film could have been done today.
Although the question, Bob, is, would this film be done today?
Well, that's a great point, Jim. I don't know.
Austin Powers was, but
Yeah.
not 3 Days of the Condor.
No.
Boy. Amazing film. I mean, again, it's... well, I'll just say to our listeners, rent 3 Days of the Condor, and it's not only a great, entertaining film directed by Sidney Pollack, but you'll just be doing double takes throughout the film as far as its closeness to what's happening in the news today. However, whatever viewpoint you take.
Very well put, Jimmy. We talked about John Le Carré earlier. Oh boy, here I go again with my French. The Leo Gorcey school addiction has struck yet again. But we're also, one of the other great spy masters was Alistair MacLean, and there were several adaptations of his books. Some not so good. Bear Island comes to mind, Puppet on a Chain. However, there was one that was very good, and that was Where Eagles Dare. Now, we know the kind of comic book elements to this. In other words, Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood never run out of ammunition, and they seem to be just mowing down Nazis like cordwood. It's almost comical. Aside from that, there's a really interesting and complex double agent mole twist to this that is kind of the driving force behind the film. And this is a fascinating element, too, of we go into the lair and the den of the enemy to find out that the enemy is us. And this is a recurring theme in these films as well. And why don't we play that segment from Where Eagles Dare, Jim?
Hank?
Barclay wrote these names.
Yes, sir.
Ted Barclay. I can't believe it.
And Thomas. And Christensen.
All three of them. God, it's incredible.
Yes, quite. But not as incredible as the one name that's missing from that list, Colonel.
What name is that, Major?
I have it in this notebook, here in my pocket. Early tonight I showed it to Colonel Kramer. He agreed with me that this was the top German agent in Britain.
It's your name, Colonel. Don't look so shocked. Surely you suspected it. Otherwise, why were you here to meet us? In case you were found out? Go on. You see, you underestimated Admiral Roland. He'd suspected you and the others for some time. He brought me and Mary back from Italy because we were the only two people in his department that he could trust, yourself included. He asked you to choose a leader for this expedition. You chose me because you knew from German intelligence that I was a double agent. Admiral Roland knew I was not. But for you, I was the perfect choice.
Now you're guessing, Smith.
No guesswork, Colonel. Your pointing that gun at me is sufficient evidence.
You know, as you're saying, Bob, how convoluted these spy yarns really get when you get into reality. But again, it's not the evil Dr. Evil out there who is the cause of all the problems. It's the internal machinations. It's the double cross. It's the enemy within, or the enemy is us.
Right. And this is a theme that plays over again and again and again in these films. It's agents going to great lengths against the quote-unquote enemy, only to find out that the real threat exists from their own side. Mm-hmm. And it's a fascinating situation because it puts them in... The spy in these films is perpetually in some kind of existential turmoil over what he's doing and where is the threat coming from. And more often than not, he has to turn to his enemy for help because his enemy is the only one he can trust.
Of course, in the Bond films, the enemy, if it was a woman, of course, he charms the heck out of her and then she comes over to the other side. But obviously, like the films we're talking about tonight, it isn't as easy and simple as that.
Not at all.
Well, when we talked about the enemy within, there is a film out there that has to do with the Kennedy assassination, and it again furthers this idea that we're not looking at assassins or terrorists from other countries. We're talking about the problems, the danger being here in this country, and you want to talk about this?
Sure.
Quickly?
This is we're about to listen to a cut from 1973's Executive Action, starring Burt Lancaster, Robert Ryan, Will Geer, directed by David Miller, screenplay by Dalton Trumbo. And this is a kind of a possibility, a scenario of how the Kennedy assassination back in 1963 was first hatched. And to set the scene, it's a meeting of industrialists and intelligence operatives discussing the possibility of getting rid of the President of the United States.
Well, there's a climate of violence in the country now, which anything can happen. The people won't protest it or even fight it for fear of becoming involved.
What about the Secret Service?
They give the president less protection than any other head of state on earth. De Gaulle travels surrounded by 47 motorcycles. Kennedy with 8, sometimes 10. And none between him and the crowds on the sidewalk. When a Soviet motorcade passes a 10-story building, there's a separate agent to watch each floor. Now, in Jack's motorcades, the agents often travel inside of closed cars. They can't see a damn thing.
And they're paid less than the FBI. They only have target practice twice a year. And they're often used as White House errand boys. And most of their intelligence comes from other agencies.
Which means they get very little. The FBI doesn't give much to anybody. And Hoover, he doesn't like the Kennedys any more than we do.
CIA? After the Bay of Pigs, its director and his deputy were forced to resign. The mood of the agency may best be described as bitter.
Are you trying to tell me people in the CIA and FBI are going to help with this project?
No. James, how many government intelligence agencies do you have personal knowledge of?
15, maybe 17.
And how many private companies would you say act as fronts for American intelligence?
Private? Well, maybe 300 or 400.
Including 6 or 7 of your own.
What one agency finds inconvenient to do may be very simple for another one in the same area.
So you see, there aren't nearly as many secrets as an outsider might imagine.
I can see how that could happen.
And even after a man leaves the government service, he still has ongoing relationships with the various intelligence outfits he's left behind.
Yes, I can see that, too.
And it's that ongoing relationship that gives him access to information. He receives it because he's trusted. And that's the way we receive ours.
Yes?
Well, I believe it. I'm convinced.
Boy, amazing scene to hear these guys sitting around really have a bead on what what surrounds the president, the whole operation, and planning on assassinating the president.
And this is an interesting point too, Jim, is that at this time we're seeing reality invade the spy film. It's not escapist, male escapist entertainment. It's serious. They're touching on real people, real situations, things that really happened. I mean, these days, the talk of the conspiracy to kill President Kennedy is pretty commonplace. In 1973, when this film was released, that was still considered a pretty radical point of view in some circles, definitely. Which kind of brings us to the next film we want to talk about, which is Falcon and the Snowman.
Great film.
Based on the true story of the, I don't know what you would call him. I think he worked for one of our intelligence services, maybe the National Reconnaissance Agency, Christopher Boyce, who, ended up selling secrets to the Soviets because he didn't like what we were doing. I mean,
Yes.
He felt that we were messing around not with enemies, but with friendly nations. I think it was the CIA interfering in an election in Australia that kind of sent him off the deep end. And this film, which came out in 1982, starring Timothy Hutton and Sean Penn, in probably two of their finest performances.
I agree.
This is a solid look at a modern-day real spy and what drives them and how, they're not... these people, they're kind of like the spy is the boy next door, for want of a better word.
Or the job of a spy, not say a job, but the occupation, let's say, is like presented to you, and here's a couple of average Joes, and they're saying, hey, we're spies, or we could be in this the situation and become spies selling secrets to the quote-unquote enemy or the adversary of the United States. We have a few sound bites from Falcon and the Snowman. First, here's Timothy Hutton, who, when he's at his intelligence office, and a lot of the information that comes through could be a congressman who wants to buy Dodger game tickets or something. I mean, it's this sort of basic information, despite it, going through the top secret channels. It's just sort of routine and so on and so forth. But what sets Timothy Hutton's character off here is a teletype, and he sees this message.
Allow Union infiltrators sufficient lead time. Union infiltrators? Though CIA exposure seems unlikely, standard program of denial of involvement is recommended. Standard program of denial recommended.
Well, that basically sets Tim off because it's shortly after that he starts looking into the newspaper and he sees, what's actually happening. And he saw this, teletype go through, got wind that there's some pretty nasty goings on that are happening, and he's got to keep his mouth shut, so to speak.
Well, then we get to the point in the plot where he's decided to sell the information to the Soviets, and he enlists the aid of his buddy Dalton, who's an erstwhile ne'er-do-well pot dealer.
Oh, I think he's doing a lot of cocaine himself.
That's right. It's the 70s. I'm sorry. I forgot.
Well, that's Sean Penn.
Sean Penn in a bravada performance.
I agree.
And this is Penn trying to approach the Soviets about, I believe...
This is Timothy Hutton and Sean Penn first talking about they're going to go try to get some money for this. And this is them assuming the so-called secret agent model.
They're not going to know what this stuff is, right? I'm not going to have to go through some long song
They'll know
and dance.
exactly what it is.
Huh?
They'll know exactly what it is. And this is if you get that far. Here you go.
All right. What's it worth?
Well, how should I know how much it's worth? You get whatever you can. Haggle with them. What?
I just walk in there?
Well, yeah. I mean, what are they going to do, shoot you?
They might. You don't know. You don't even know the address.
Boy, I mean, the role of being a secret agent or, an operative, it's... and with these two guys doing it, this film, it's directed by John Schlesinger, who did Midnight Cowboy, a number of other films. He's a great director. And I was watching it today, Bob, and there's this sort of sardonic comic undertone, but the proceedings are so serious and so earth-shattering that, it's almost like you're kind of giggling, but nervously, because these two guys, like you said, the average Joes, and put into a James Bond sort of role, it's a great film.
And the thing that's really mind-blowing about it, it's real. It really happened.
Yeah, based on a true story. Okay, here's Sean Penn. He's in the embassy. I'm not sure which embassy it is. But
it's the Soviet embassy in Mexico City.
Okay, and he wants to make a deal. Here's Sean Penn.
I'm the courier.
The courier?
American spy satellites. I can get you all the information you want to know about them. Sputniks.
Yes.
Maybe I'm talking to the wrong guy.
Who would be the right guy?
KGB?
This is an embassy. There's no KGB here.
Oh, well. Whatever you say.
One moment, please. The card you gave has something to do with satellites, yes?
That's right.
So you're a spy?
That's right.
Do you have some identification?
Yes, let me get my my spy card out.
Yeah, or could you imagine James Bond wanting to kill you and you say, well, can I see your license to kill, please, But here we are laughing, but it's a very serious movie, and again, it's based on a true story about a couple of average guys becoming so-called spies, and what they were trying to sell to the Soviets was coordinates of spy satellites, and they were very interested. After that scene, after some very uncomfortable scenes, they were very interested in what they had to sell.
And what a great film.
Really good film.
My goodness, it kind of captures that. I mean, when you think of spy films, you think of like The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, like the Berlin Wall, very cold and dank, and there's barbed wire, and they're on one side, we're on the other side. Everyone's looking at each other through binoculars, wondering what's going to happen. And this took place in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
Swimming pools. Laurie Singer is the good-looking blonde California all-American girl who's Timothy Boyce's girlfriend, and that's the whole point to espionage. It happens everywhere.
Yeah. Highly recommend Falcon and the Snowman if you want an edgy spy flick. Although I would, like you said, it's sort of an interesting spy flick. You wouldn't really label it that, but it is. I wanted to make mention, this is Take Two, the movie program on Public Radio KCBX, and we have our final couple of clips, but we do want to make mention that, of course, you are part of this show. 549-8855 or 1-800-549-8855. You can call us. You can weigh in with your favorite spy film, and there's a zillion of them. We went through a lot of stuff. And we'll do that in just a few minutes. We have a couple more clips to really round out our discussion. And, I think last week we basically touched on James Bond, the suave spy. I mean, everybody loves him, but he's got a license to kill. When you think about James Bond, you don't think of him as being a hired killer, but he is. And that's what I think. Our next two clips are truly amazing clips, I feel. It gets to the heart of what it's like to be a spy, to be a hired killer, and the existentialism that you're talking about, Bob. As opposed to, James Bond is more fun than anything. But when you really get to the dark underside of what a secret agent is all about, it's well, here. Did you want to?
Well, I just wanted to weigh in one thing. With spies, it's like it's not always the most debonair, classy. They're not all David Niven. In fact, they're kind of wooden, almost people you look at and you don't see them while you're looking at them.
Yes.
And that's what Max von Sydow certainly reminded in 3 Days of a Condor. He's someone that you could bump into on a city street and you look right at them and see nothing.
And Max von Sydow, a great role in 3 Days of the Condor, which we're going to return to now. And he talks about what he feels like as a hired assassin, also the perhaps fate of Robert Redford.
I'd like to go back to New York.
You have not much future there. It would happen this way. You may be walking. Maybe the first sunny day of the spring. And a car will slow beside you. And a door will open. And someone you know, maybe even trust, will get out of the car. And he will smile, a becoming smile. But he will leave open the door of the car and offer to give you a lift.
You seem to understand it all so well. What would you suggest?
Personally, I prefer Europe.
Europe?
Yes. Well, the fact is, what I do is not a bad occupation. Someone is always willing to pay.
I would find it tiring.
Oh, no. It's quite restful. It's almost peaceful. No need to believe in either side, or any side. There is no cause. There's only yourself. The belief is in your own precision.
I was born in the United States, Joe. I miss it when I'm away too long.
A pity.
Wow. Yeah. Max von Sydow is essentially the James Bond character in this film. the hired killer, and it's amazing when he gets into that idea of believing in nothing, not even in any side that you're working for. You have no cause to believe in, only your own precision.
Wow, that's just amazing. And that leads us to our last clip, and this is from, arguably, in my opinion, the best spy movie ever made, and that's 1965's The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, directed by Martin Ritt, and it stars Richard Burton, and he plays Alec Leamis, a kind of burnt-out operative that's had about all he can take of, the whole dirty game, but he has to go back over the wall for one last dirty mission. And he doesn't know how dirty it is until he gets on the other side. This clip that we're about to hear is where he's trying to escape with a young, idealistic communist woman who he met in England, played by Claire Bloom, who at that time was married to the late Rod Steiger. And he's trying to explain to a neophyte what a spy is, and he's trying to remove the glamour from it, and I think he does it effectively, as only Richard Burton can. If you would, Hank?
We made it very easy for them. They used us. They cheated us both because it was necessary. Fiedler was nearly home already. If it hadn't been for us, Munt would have been killed. They were bloody clever. All the way down the line, they were bloody clever.
Clever? They were foul. How can you turn the world upside down? What rules are you playing?
There's only one rule. Expediency. Munt gives London what it needs, so Fiedler dies and Munt lives. It was a foul, foul operation, but it paid off.
Who for?
What the hell do you think spies are? Moral philosophers measuring everything they do against the word of God or Karl Marx? They're not. They're just a bunch of seedy, squalid bastards like me. Little men, drunkards, queers, henpecked husbands, civil servants playing cowboys and Indians to brighten their rotten little lives. Do you think they sit like monks in a cell balancing right against wrong? Yesterday I would have killed Munt because I thought him evil and an enemy, but not today. Today he's evil and my friend. London needs him. They need him so that the great moronic masses you admire so much can sleep soundly in their flea-bitten beds again. They need him for the safety of ordinary, crummy people like you and me.
You killed Fiedler.
How big does a cause have to be before you kill your friends? What about your party? There's a few million bodies on that path.
Wow. Boy.
You are in tune with the movie program Take Two on KCBX, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Barbara counties. The number to call to get involved, 549-8855 or 1-800-549-8855. Well, we double-checked the room. There's no bugs in the room or anything. So once again, the number 549-8855 or 1-800-549-8855. Let's talk spy movies. Good evening. Let us know your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, this is Gary from San Luis Obispo.
Hi, Gary.
Yeah, I was looking, and I'll have to admit, I looked some of this up. I was looking at the year 1965 when the movie that you really think is so great came out, and that also Ipcress File came out that year, and they were all British, and one more came out, the James Bond Thunderball.
Right.
The Spy Who Came In From the Old, the Ipcress File, and Thunderball, and they were all British, and they were spy movies that came out, and I thought that was kind of interesting that they made the cool movies back then. And then my wife and I were arguing about, I thought that Manchurian Candidate was a spy movie, and she says it's not a spy movie. So
well,
anyway, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for the call.
Well, that's a good point.
Oh, Manchurian Candidate would
it
easily
certainly touch upon spy spy topics
and conspiracy theories and things
Absolutely.
like that. It fits perfectly.
And I think it's good that Gary brought up the Ipcris file with Michael Caine as Harry Palmer. That's not a lampoon or light spy series. His version, his Harry Palmer, is also very dark and very much in the gray area. That's a great film. That and Funeral in Berlin, the other. Well, I think there's a $1 Billion Brain gets a little kooky, but still, Harry Palmer, Michael Caine, as portrayed by Michael Caine, an excellent series of spy films.
Which started with the Ipcris file. Yes. Yep. Good evening. You're on Take Two. Could you give us your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, my name is Andy. I'm calling from San Luis Obispo.
Hi, Andy.
Yeah, I was just curious about Elvis and Richard Nixon.
Oh, well, I know that infamous picture where they're shaking hands and he's got his Vegas outfit on.
Hey, I just wanted to get Bob to try and do a Elvis impersonation.
Oh.
That's all. Thanks. If you don't want to, that's fine.
Well, no, thank you, Andy. I don't think I can. I've got a frog in my throat. But thank you, and God bless you.
Might do a Sean Connery or Richard Burton. There we go. Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Okay, that's pretty funny, Bob.
We just want to keep the people happy.
I'll see if I can stop laughing. This is Bill from Slow.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, guys. Hey, let's go back to the Falcon and the Snowman.
Please.
With a lot of anticipation, I waited for that film to come out because I thought what it was going to deal with was where I believed the real adventure lay in that whole story, and that was left out. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. Although, let me also start by saying it was a great movie, and I agree with you guys, awesome flick. But do you remember that when Christopher Boyce was finally captured and he was put on trial and then he was incarcerated? Do you guys remember that he escaped from prison?
Right. I think he may have been down the coast here at the federal pen in Lompoc and busted out. Back in the days when Lompoc, where a lot of the Watergate guys were there, when it was kind of like a golf club, I don't think it's like that now. I think it's pretty hardcore now.
I think it's medium now. But he escaped, and he was on the lam for a year, 18 months, or 2 years, I don't know, a long time. I know that the FBI was looking for him. There were reports that they were supposedly one campfire behind him in Mexico as they were, going after him. Meanwhile, he was up, I believe, in a logging town somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, just laughing at all these reports about, the FBI is right behind him. And
Bill?
Eventually he was found out and he was recaptured. And I remember this because I saw him on 60 Minutes. But when that film came out in '82, I was going, all right, this is going to be great. We're going to have this big adventure. The film ended when he was apprehended, and there was nothing about his escape and all that adventure that went with it. So
well, Bill, here's what I think. I'm just a regular guy. I don't know much, but this would be my theory on it. He evaded the FBI for 18 months. Maybe he had a little help from some intelligence service, and maybe that information wasn't privy to John Schlesinger when they made the film. That's a possibility.
But you are right about the film. Just at the very end, they just talk about the time that the two spent or going to spend in jail, and they didn't go any further than that.
Well, that also might harken back to like the old crime films where crime doesn't pay. In other words, like whoever's producing the film or the studio that's releasing it, going, look, no, we don't want him, on the lam. He's a traitor. The film has to end with him going to jail. I mean, that's a possibility, too. But that's an interesting point. John Schlesinger, of all filmmakers, I would think would have because the film is kind of insightful in how it looks at America, not always in a good way, it looks at it warts and all, that maybe he would have taken a shot on that. That's a good point.
Great point.
Yeah, nevertheless, a great movie.
We agree.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks for your call.
Bye now.
Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Good evening. Henry from Los Osos.
Hi, Henry.
A couple of movies. I don't know if they qualify. How about The Eye of the Needle with Donald Sutherland and Kate Nelligan?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
And how about The Day of the Jackal? I can't remember who.
Yes, that's with Edward Fox or
Edward.
James Fox. I can't. My Fox brothers, I get them mixed up. I just saw that the other day. That's a great spy movie.
That's a really great traditional, old-school spy movie.
And that's based in truth, too, about the attempt to assassinate de Gaulle, leading to a attempted military takeover of the French government over the Algerian situation in the early 60s. Written by one of the other great literary spy masters, Frederick Forsyth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great one to bring up. In fact, I was thinking about that today as we were doing the research on the show.
I know we had talked about it. And it's directed by Fred Zinnemann, who did From Here to Eternity and a few other really great films.
Yeah, Day of the Jackal, great film.
And The Eye of the Needle?
Yeah, with Donald Sutherland, I remember seeing it. I really enjoyed it. It's been such a long time since I've seen Eye of the Needle, but I remember there was a great tension in between Kate Nelligan and
I
Donald
saw
Sutherland.
that fairly recently, and I think that is a terrific spy movie. It takes place
on an island.
Yeah, a lonely Scottish island somewhere during World War II, and Sutherland is a Nazi mole.
Yes.
And he's trying to find out information on the invasion.
Right, that's right.
And he holds up with a widow played by Kate Nelligan, and they have an interesting relationship. And what a fascinating picture! That is a great spy movie.
Great suggestion.
Without giving away too much of the complex plot, of course.
Well, worth seeing again. Okay,
absolutely.
Thanks for the call. You're in tune with Take Two, the movie show, and we're talking about spy movies of any shape, form, kind, whatever, actually spirited by the infamous Austin Powers film, which is doing so well at the box office, although our subject on tonight's program, more serious spy films. And give us a call. It's 549-8855 or 1-800-549-8855. And you can write to either Bob or me. It's movies@kcbx.org.
If you are on the internet.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was also looking at Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier. That would kind of touch upon, I believe, a spy film, spy conspiracy film. Good effort. Not a great film, but I thought it was good.
Isn't that also directed by John Schlesinger? Or am I wrong on that?
I'm not sure.
I
can't remember.
that.
Maybe our listeners will know.
Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Chuck Wampo.
Hiya.
Hi.
I was just wondering if suggested Tinker, Sailor, Soldier, Spy.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Guinness. That was a great series on PBS.
Right. I think
about 6 hours.
Boy, I haven't seen that in years, and that's based on the John le Carré novel as well, I believe. Man, yeah, that's terrific stuff. Unfortunately, it's been so long for me since I've seen it, I can't really remember it all that clearly. Can you refresh our memory?
Well, it's been a long time since I've seen it, too. It's been too long for me to get all the... But it's a great spy series. It's worth seeing again.
And
absolutely.
It's available on video?
I believe... Well, it was at one time. It may not be anymore.
Any other suggestions of great spy movies?
Also, John le Carré's Smiley's People. That's excellent, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what else was an adaptation of John le Carré?
Yeah.
Is The Looking Glass War.
Yes.
With Christopher Jones. You might remember him from Ryan's Daughter and Wild in the Streets. This was the other movie he did. And I believe this was Anthony Hopkins' first film. And this is a fascinating story about British intelligence putting a Polish fellow into East Germany to find out about some rocket. And it's kind of like the East Germans and the British kind of having it out because the big boys are the Soviets and the Americans, so the East Germans and the British want to prove that, they've still got a stake in the big game. And it's a fascinating picture. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
I've got to check to see that one. Thank you.
Thanks for the call.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Hey, who's this?
This is Jim.
Oh, hi, Jim. Well, I wasn't sure if that was on. It sounded the same.
Oh, no,
This is
you're
Richard
on.
from Morro Bay.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, Bob. good show, and it's fun listening to these clips you got, but I sure wish I could see them, especially when you got like Richard Burton and so on,
Just just close your eyes and think about it.
Are these clips you recorded off of a movie, or how do you get these?
We get them from the movies themselves.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to think about Burton, think in black and white.
I like the black and white, definitely, but I like To Have and Have Not, even though it's not really a spy movie, it's the French Resistance, and which complicates the whole matter. So without all that kind of that spy, it has a real feeling of, the even though the police are kind of coming down on him, he's really kind of, you know what I'm talking about, Have and Have Not?
Oh, sure, you bet. Well, there's several versions of that. There was the Bogey Bacall Walter Brennan one. It was remade a few years later in 1952 with John Garfield and Patricia Neal. And the name escapes me, the title. And there are certain film critics out there that would actually say that was a better version.
Well, they were both great, though.
Totally.
That was Lauren Bacall's first movie. She was like 18 or something, maybe 19 years old. And
right.
And Brennan is fantastic. His line is, a bee can sting you after it's dead or something. You remember that? He says, you have to worry about bees because they can sting you even if they're dead, or something.
That's right. Great.
Anyway, all the best spy movies, I think, we haven't had a good one recently, have we?
Well, I'll vote for Enigma, which was it was out in theaters recently. It should be out in video, I want to say, within a couple of months. And it was about the decoding device in World War II, and that was a really good spy film.
All right, I'll check it out. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the call.
Thank you, Richard.
Bye-bye.
Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Yeah, hi. This is Rick from San Luis Obispo.
Hi, Rick.
Hi. The spy movie that came to my mind as being just one of the most exciting, and I'm not altogether sure a spy movie is the right name for it, but it seemed like that to me, was one with Robert Redford. And I think it took place like in Washington, like outside of Washington, D.C., and I can't remember the name of it, but they had to break into this big compound that was almost like I think it was like a manufacturing facility, but it ended up being like a CIA type of deal. It was a few years ago.
Could that have been called Sneakers?
Yeah, that might have been it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it had Dan Aykroyd, Ben Kingsley, I think was the heavy in it.
Gosh, there was
Sneakers.
Gosh, I forgot all about that one.
And also Robert Redford was with Brad Pitt in a recent film called Spy Game.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
I didn't either, but it was supposed to be, it got some pretty great reviews as I recall. But Sneakers, I think you're right, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, that struck me as being just one of the most incredible, suspense films that I'd ever seen at the time. It was almost like it opened up a whole new genre of just complexity and just having you hang on the edge by your teeth.
Wow. Well, that's what you want. Look, my memory's a little fuzzy. Was Sidney Poitier in that as well?
I think he was.
I think he was.
Yeah.
Because I remember a sequence from that where he's jumping over the hood of a car, chasing somebody, which was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Sneakers. Yeah.
Wow.
Great suggestion.
There were a whole bunch of stunts in that thing. But mainly it was like it had this diabolical plot, and the government involvement and stuff. It was just, really hairy.
Once again, we see the enemy and they are us.
And plus getting the best suggestions from our listeners as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks so much. Good call.
Yeah. Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Hello.
Hi there.
Oh, hi.
You're on.
Oh, this is Steve. I live in Paso Robles.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, you've been talking about all the John le Carré films, and the one I thought most pertinent for the day was Little Drummer Girl with Diane Keaton.
Holy smoke! Forgot all about.
How do we forget that one?
Oh,
yeah, I thought I just watched it last night. Is why it came to mind.
Wow! Why don't you enlighten us a bit on it? Because it's been a while since I've seen it. What'd you think?
I thought it still held up. It's a pretty good movie.
Let's see. Did that come out like in the mid '80s, maybe?
I would say early '80s, mid '80s. Yeah.
Okay.
She's enlisted by the Israeli secret. What?
The Mossad, the Secret Service.
Yeah. Try and track down a Palestinian terrorist. And she goes inside the organization. She's trained by the Palestinians, goes to a camp, and it's a little fanciful, but boy, she's an actress, and half insane, really. Fascinating movie, though. But I mean, it's still absolutely pertinent to the present situation.
Absolutely,
very pertinent.
Absolutely, yeah.
So anyway,
would you
great
give
show,
it a
great clips?
Would you give it a good recommendation?
Oh yeah, still a good film.
Excellent.
Can't remember the director now. Good director too.
Boy, yeah, that one just slipped right through the old cranium there. Forgot all about that one. Shame on me.
I would have too, except I just watched it.
Well, we appreciate your call.
Okay, thanks very much.
Take care.
Wow, yeah, forgot all about that one.
Yeah, it's great to get these recommendations. I remember last week when we were just talking about spy movies in general, and you go to the Internet Movie Database and you just put in the word spy and you get, hundreds of films.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
I'm trying to think, what was one of the first spy movies ever made? Fritz Lang, I think, did a movie called Spies, maybe back in the early 20s.
Oh, yeah. Didn't he have a series that I can't think of?
The Dr. Mabuse series.
Yes.
He was kind of a spy.
Good evening. You're on Take Two. Hi.
Hi, this is Rebecca from Cayucas.
Hi. Thanks for calling.
Great show, you guys.
Thank you.
I wanted to just make a quick comment about 3 Days of the Condor.
Please.
It's so fun and interesting to me that that everything has come full circle, because with the Brad Pitt, Robert Redford show, he's gone from being kind of more naive to now doing the same thing with Brad Pitt, where he's now, in his latest movie, he was a little jaundiced and talking about how he's, no country, don't stay loyal to any country, that type of thing.
Rebecca, is that Spy Game?
Yes,
Okay,
that's it. I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah, can you enlighten us a little about that? Because I think Jim and I missed that one.
Okay. Well, I can't remember 3 Days of the Condor that well, but just from the little clip, when he was so jaded, Robert Redford in Spy Game was basically encouraging Brad Pitt, who was a little more naive, to just kind of stay aloof and not get sucked into the whole game. And Brad Pitt, on the other hand, was just really going kind of I don't know, what should I say here?
Was he kind of an idealist?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
And he got
anyway, that was my quick comment, and thanks so much.
Oh, thanks for the call.
Thank you, Rebecca. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, that film got great reviews, and I feel bad I haven't seen
Yeah,
it.
you guys have to check it out.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi, you're on Take Two.
Hi, this is Mary Beth from Morro Bay.
Hi, Mary Beth.
Hi. I just was inspired by your clip you played from The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. I think that was really, it must have been the inspiration for Jack Nicholson's speech in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. You don't know what we go through to put the American people at safety.
Wow, that's a good point.
Well, thank you.
Gosh, that's... There you have it.
Maybe a little less self-effacing. I think Jack Nicholson in that film, was still in control, whereas I think Richard Burton
had given up the ghost.
Is even, upset with himself when you hear, him calling himself, the bastard.
The seedy, squalid bastard, as only he can do it.
Yeah. Well, your previous caller who was talking about the Manchurian Candidate, whether that was a spy film or not, I think that this is a good opportunity to say that there's a close link between spy films and the military films.
Absolutely.
Often the spies are ex-military people, and
think about Apocalypse Now. There's a heavy CIA subtext to that. Willard's in the Army, Martin Sheen's character,
right?
But he's working for the CIA, and he can't tell the Army about his CIA contacts, but they know about it. The military and the intelligence services, we know, they kind of run in very similar circles.
Well, and it's always like the spies are almost like the redheaded stepchildren of the military. We don't know what the military is doing, but we really don't know what the spies are doing.
I love the way you phrase it.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for the call. Hi. Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Hi, from Atascadero.
Hi.
I've been listening to most of it. I may have missed some, but has anyone mentioned Len Dayton? Now, he hasn't had a motion picture, but he was on PBS.
Oh, right. He wrote a ton of books.
Mm-hmm. Hook, Line, Sinker.
Oh, boy. I'm not that familiar with him. I can't say off the top of my head if he ever wrote, if anything that he wrote was adapted to film or a miniseries.
No, it was just always on PBS, and they did, I think, maybe 3 or 4 of his books. And he continued to do books, and just saying he's a great, great spy. It's all about the British intelligence and Germany and Europe. So,
what was the name again?
Len Dayton.
Len Dayton.
Oh, I'll have to
great
check
books
that
to
out.
read, and they were a PBS series. I want to say they took maybe 3 or 4 of his books. They were always in a series.
He didn't write Danger UXB, did he?
Oh, he may have.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was one of his first ones, and then he went into the series of spies and British.
He didn't write Riley Ace of Spies with Sam Neill, did he?
I'm not sure.
Because I remember that. That was like one of my favorite spy series from the BBC. Sam Neill.
I'm not sure if that was him. Because
May not have been.
The books were written, and we read them in the 80s, and then PBS did them probably late 80s, early 90s. But he's a great spy writer, so if anybody wants to read his books, even though they weren't in a major motion picture, but he's really good.
Oh, I appreciate the recommendation.
Okay.
Thanks for the call.
Bye-bye.
Because not only are we film lovers, we're also literary people as well. Some of us still read.
Yeah.
Even if it's comic books, in my case. But no, we like to read.
We'll call them graphic novels. Okay. Well, this is Public Radio, KCBX, San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties, and thank you for listening to the Motion Picture Program, Take Two. Well, we're going to squeeze in one more phone call. Good evening, you're on Take Two.
Hi, this is just a quick one. This is Jan in Arroyo Grande, and didn't Len Dayton write the Ipcris file?
Holy smokes.
I don't know.
Maybe he did.
I think so.
Gosh. Well, you know what? We'll have to find that out, and we'll give you the answer next week. You might be right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the call.
You. Bye.
Good.
Well,
the people that are listening to the show, I mean, folks, you're the top.
You're the best. Thanks for all the great phone calls and for weighing in on spy films. It was a lot of fun, and boy, I had a good time.
Gosh, the hour flew by.
Well, Bob, I am not going to be here next week, but Catherine McDonald will be sitting in for me, and you guys have a great time next week, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Again, thanks to all the listeners. You really make this show great, and we really appreciate you being there.
Thanks so much, everybody. This has been, this hour format has been terrific, and you helped make it so. So we're going to sign off for now, and until next week, have a great time at the movies.
And our thanks to our projectionist and engineer, Hank Hadley, for doing a great job with all the sound clips. We're going to leave you with the music from Falcon and the Snowman. This is David Bowie and Pat Metheny.
Little piece of you, a little piece in me will die. For this is not America. Blossom fails to bloom this season. Promise not to stay too long. For this is not the miracle. There was a time a snowman moved on you. Oh, this could be the biggest sky, and I could have a faintest idea. Falcon spirals to the ground. clouds, a little piece of you, a little piece in me.